welcome back to the Always Be Building Show, sponsored by Dynasty Football Factory Network. I am Stephen Chalmers, joined as always with my partner on the right side of the screen, Mr. Ryan Odell. Deli, say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Long time no see for all of you guys. Been going through some personal things, but good to be back on the stream. Figured we'd get back to our roots here. This is the first video done in a while. We're going to kind of take you guys through startup mock draft for Dynasty, for anybody that's new to Dynasty or anybody that needs a little bit of guidance throughout the process. The goal is to kind of have this guide as like your go-to for anytime you're starting your startups. We're really excited for this. I think we're going to knock out the first 2, maybe 3 rounds tonight, and then we'll kind of, as the video goes on, we'll make this into a little series. We got some special guests tonight. I'll let Steven bring them in.
I got True Russell over there at Father Dynasty. Just want to give you guys a heads up that I played with this man in the first Scott Fish Bowl I ever played in SFB 13. Met him, and we're still producing content today. What a hell of a guy. Say what's up, Chew.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be on and glad to be catching up with you guys. And, I mean, you guys will get back in the swing of things, so glad to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you tonight, man. Thank you very much. And then, of course, Michael Romero, MR. Say what's up to the people. Dynasty Football Factory legend.
The people. What's going on?
So tonight is a big project that I've been working on here. It takes a lot to bring something like this to fruition. Ryan and I are firm believers that while no dynasty startup, strategy is perfect, if you execute your dynasty strategies and you execute your draft, you execute trading up, trading back, when to attack certain positions, when to go best player available, when to, just overall when to attack certain positions and players in drafts, can be a huge thing for you, can set you apart from a lot of other teams. It's going to be hard to see it in a mock draft. It really is. But that's why we're here to talk about it. We can't trade and simulated scenarios in a mock draft. But there's no point in not talking. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you guys with this. We all have different picks in the draft. We're all on different stages of the board. I'm going to pull the board up for you. Let me find it. Where's the sleeper?
Oh, no, there goes all our beautiful faces.
So the board is here. Big board. We're ready to roll. Fellas, anything you want to say before we get started?
No, I think the one thing that we're not able to capture in this mock are going to be the trading scenarios. So I think that we should definitely take some time, talk about where we would do something like that, and all the fellas that are helping us out, much appreciated. They're with us via chat here too. So gents, if you guys participating in the mock with us have any ideas or things where you'd want to interject, feel free to share that with the people, because that's valuable information.
Yep.
Sir.
Without further ado, boys, let me click this button. Draft started.
Draft up.
Draft up.
We've got a trade. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Chalmers, did we talk about the format for the people?
No. So format is going to be your standard dynasty startup. I just added 3 flexes. I got rid of kickers because I hate kickers. So you have your Superflex format here. 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, single tight end, 3 flex. With that being said, it is tight end premium 0.5. So each catch will be 1.5 for tight ends. It's one of your more standard formats in the game.
Yeah.
But again, you execute this draft, you can be walking away with a solid startup and foundation. So what Ryan and I were talking about here and Chew before you came in, I think the 1, 2, and 3 are one of the more untradeable positions in the draft board, due to the sole fact that I want to start a flex with a monster quarterback. And that didn't happen here. But in saying that, the 3 QBs I'm referring to, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jaden Daniels, I don't care which one of the 3 that I get. Age being a factor into this situation, obviously. But as long as I have one of them, I don't care. I just don't want to trade out of those 3 spots.
I think that's a price. I think if someone wants to overpay to get those 1 through 3, I'm probably going to let them pay for it.
Sure.
Everything has a price. And you
Sure.
shouldn't say never, but yeah, those are three untouchable spots, especially the 1 and 2. If I'm at 3 and I know Lamar's there, I could see myself moving out of 3, but if it's 1 and 2, forget about it.
Burrow seems to be screaming up the charts, man. I've seen him in a few startups this offseason. He's really, kind of cemented as that number 4. So if you wanted to expand that to maybe the top, 3.5 positions from a quarterback perspective, I know that Burrow doesn't really bring the rushing, but I mean, he's of those quarterbacks that we're talking about, he's the guy in my mind that can throw for 5,000 yards and 40 plus touchdowns. So, if we're talking about an anchor piece for your team in that, top 3 or 4 picks, I think Burrow is certainly a guy that has been screaming up the boards and it's been locking in that top, I haven't seen him go anywhere past 5 or 6 at the very least. And those are in leagues where guys want to jump up and secure Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson in those top 5 or 6 picks.
Yeah, and despite it being a super flex, I mean, there's only so many of those like pass-centric quarterbacks that can actually climb that high. I mean, Burrow being one of them. I mean, Baker Mayfield, I think as of recently, I think could be the discount version of that with what he can do passing-wise. But there's only so many that can really get that high compared to Jackson and Daniels and these guys.
I agree. And like I said, standard, typically this wouldn't happen. I mean, you have Jamar Chase and Bijan Robinson go here in the first 4 picks. With that being said, 2 of the 3 QBs that I had referenced have already gone. I do believe that Ryan and I always talk about this, the QBs with the extreme rushing upside, they're Konami codes when it comes to our game. They give you an advantage that not many people have. You talk about Joe Burrow, if you can throw for 40 touchdown passes and 4,500 to 5,000 yards, yeah, you're going to compete with the likes of those guys. But give me the rushing upside QBs here, and I will lock my guy in. I'll take Jaden Daniels to start it.
That's actually the latest I've seen Jaden Daniels go. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know it's a mock, and there's, for the people, there's no money behind this, but when you're paying any sort of entry fee, or if you're playing for free or whatever, I mean, you should be playing the same way. But Jaden Daniels at 5 is absolute steal.
Yeah, it's money. Yeah. I've seen him go 1 more often than anything else, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
He's kind of, from what I've seen, jumped Josh Allen as QB1 in Dynasty.
I don't think he is QB1. I think it's Lamar.
You think it's Lamar?
Yeah. Yeah,
I was going to say that age kind of plays into it me with Lamar.
Him and Josh are both 28, so I don't know where age becomes a benefactor in any way.
Well, the thing I've seen on or I guess the argument you can make against having Daniels as QB1 would be what we saw with CJ Stroud last year, right? He was going as QB3 or 3rd overall, and then had a rough season, and I think he's like down to like 3rd round ADP, that type of thing. And that's kind of what Evan is saying here, Evan Harris.
Yeah.
It's like, we've only seen 1 year. It's been an amazing year, and it looks, very promising. But we've seen guys in that top tier have awesome production. CJ Stroud, one of those dudes, and then have a rough sophomore season because there's tape on the guy, and then all of a sudden it becomes a little devalued there. But that's not to say Jaden Daniels is CJ Stroud. I mean, he looks awesome. So
yeah,
I don't have a problem taking him in the top 3. It's just one of those things where it's like it could, we haven't seen enough. Sorry, like more than 1 year of production.
I think the biggest thing with Jaden that I like going into year 2, Cosme's healthy. You added your premier left tackle, in the Houston trade, which I don't know what the Houston Texans are trying to do to CJ Stroud. I don't know if they want him on life support by week 7. But the big thing is protection. I mean, I think they saw that, there was a 7-week stretch where Jaden Daniels was carrying the ball 8+ times. And Ryan and I always talked about it in his profile. For as good as a passer he is, when he extends the pocket, when he moves outside the pocket, when he takes off, he's a very slim, slender guy, and he's not afraid to take contact in the NFL. I'm sorry, but that can get you killed. College football is a lot different than NFL football. I believe these moves are trying to make him a little bit more pocket heavy. Now, when I say that, I do not believe that he's going to not run the ball at all. I just believe that this is a great setup for him. I love what they have around him. I love the environment Dan Quinn has brought to this Commanders team. I just believe that he's set up to succeed and just be an absolute stud.
Yeah. So before I pick, I'm going to let Shu cover his pick real quick before I get into mine.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, obviously, like we were saying with how this thing started, I didn't expect Burrow even to be the quarterback that would have gotten this far. But at this point, if a quarterback of that ilk, of that top couple is going to fall this far, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to do it 10 times out of 10. It's not overthinking it and picking the next wide receiver, the next running back. It's just getting a quarterback. I think with what they did in Cincinnati, locking down Burrow already, and then Chase and Higgins. I know Higgins for not quite as long as Chase is there. I trust what they're going to do there from a passing standpoint. I understand Chase Brown's there. Zach Moss is presumably healthy. I mean, overall, I think we understand the rushing game is going to be a complement to what they're going to do in the passing game, and that all leads through Joe Burrow. And like they talked about a bit this offseason, this is one of the first full off seasons he's had healthy to really build his skill set, build his connection with everybody around him. So I think that's going to be a huge win for him to start the season strong instead of them starting a couple losses on the board and having to crawl back towards it. So be good for him.
Have you ever seen a team so good offensively be so bad defensively and have just negative game scripts like this? It is like a fantasy gold mine with Joe Burrow. As long as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are on the field at the same time, throw in Chase Brown, throw the icing on the cake. Like, this offense is set up to absolutely succeed. I wish we would have get to see Eric All this year, but we're not going to, unfortunately. But I've never seen something like this. It's just crazy. Joe Burrow is set up for some of the worst negative game scripts in the NFL. And yeah. Yeah.
Even his ancillary weapons are like Mike Gesicki and Andre Yoshivas, like that, they're no slouches. Like, no matter like if Chase or Higgins goes down, like they still have, got guys to deal with. So
yeah, I love this overall offense. I hate playing them twice a year. But if you have any parts of them in dynasty football, fantasy football in general, they're gold mines. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. So going in the pick, going at 108. Typically, I'm always going to be the one to go receiver or quarterback in the first round. Gibbs voted me in this instance, but I mean the 5 quarterbacks that I see as elite are all gone out the board. In Hurts, Daniels, all those guys. So then you look at that point best value, and I think it's Gibbs. I think he's set up in this Lions offense to be a main focal point of this team. You saw it last year. He had a monster season. I think that plays on. And the other big thing in the first 2 rounds, I'll say the first 5, but for now, since we're only covering 2, I'll say the first 2 rounds are like headache-free rounds. You don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball. I try to target guys that are going to be able to stay on my roster for 4 or 5 years and produce, and know how to think about that. That's why I typically lean more towards receivers because they have a longer shelf life. But Jameer Gibbs is 23 this year. I think you can play elite football until 27 in this Lions offense that has shown no signs of slowing down the offense side of the ball. O-line's phenomenal. They got all the tools there to be successful, and Gibbs has just been everything the Lions wanted him to be since they drafted him.
Gibbs is a stud, man. He's it's hard to put into words what he brings to an offense, and I'll go ahead and make my picks here, and then I guess we can sort of dissect that a little bit as we roll around the corner here. But I typically like to start with 2 stud receivers if I'm drafting toward the back of any type of draft. If I'm in the 10th, 11th, 12th spot, I like to get into some stud receivers. They tend to be available here after a rush on those big time quarterbacks, getting Brock Bowers in that top 10. I think that makes a lot of sense. He came to 11 here. I've seen him go as high as 5 in some drafts, but getting 2 solid wide receivers to build your team around, I think is huge. Seeing Ashton Jeanty there is exciting, but I'm going to go ahead and jump over to him. I'm going to grab my boy CeeDee Lamb, and then I'm going to stack him. Well, not stack him, but I'm also going to take Brian Thomas Jr.
No doubt. Death taxes Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, man. I mean, we have a saying at DFF that BTJ is greater than God. I know that it's kind of a joke, an internal joke or whatever, but I do feel that BTJ is set up in that offense to just have a monster year 2. He had an incredible rookie season. Putting Travis Hunter on the other side of him, I think one could say it's going to take a little bit from his production in year 2. I think it's the exact opposite. I think BTJ ascends to another level, and we're talking about him in the Chase Jefferson tier next year.
Oh.
Yeah, Ryan, just to get back to your point, so Jahmyr Gibbs, I know you always talk about the 1,500 touch rule. That's your big thing when trying to target running backs and then move off of running backs. Just so everybody knows that Jahmyr Gibbs had less than 600 total touches at Alabama, and I mean he's a pretty fresh running back, a guy that I believe can be in a 1-2 headed monster, Sonic and Knuckles as they so call him, with Montgomery for 2 more years, and just really keep Gibbs fresh. Gibbs, when it comes to his first 2 years of his career, is on that touchdown path of like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram type levels. So his touchdown percentage is ridiculous. Jahmyr Gibbs is a fantasy superstar. So, because I saw somebody question Gibbs over JJ. To be honest with you, I know in a real startup where you would go, but this is fun, and I believe that Jahmyr Gibbs and Justin Jefferson value is not far off anyway.
No, I can't be. I was kind of something different. We're just having fun doing mocks. I love JJ. I shouldn't reflect in mocks, but I own him in a ton of leagues. So just go a little different direction. Like I said, I normally go receiver heavy in the start. Just when I'm on St. Brown here, kind of the same concept. 2 guys in the same offense are going to produce. Monter's had multiple seasons of over 100 catches. It's Jared Goff's go-to guy. I don't see that changing. I know that Jameson Williams is rising as far as value goes, but I think at the end of the day, it's still a Monter wide receiver 1. I still think he gets those 100 catches. He's just been phenomenal with Jared Goff since they've kind of met in the NFL.
Yeah, did you guys catch the Netflix quarterback, the new season of quarterback?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It is. It's a lot of fun. The receiver one was pretty cool. I liked the first season, but there's the reason I bring it up is that there's connective tissue with Goff and Amon-Ra that is really hard to deny. I mean, that's his guy in the offense, man. And they're close friends. Their wives are close, and we're talking about football here, and we're talking about fantasy football, but those connections take time to build, and this, it's undeniable what Amon-Ra has been able to do. I like the joke that he ended up with the wrong jersey number because he counted wrong in terms of how many wide receivers were taken in front of him, but that it worked out because it would have been 16 and Goff got to use 16. So, he's like, Goff looks better in 16 anyway. I look okay in 14. But, yeah, man, I have a lot of ARSB exposure in my leagues, and not mad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either. I have a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown myself. I believe I had
Yeah, you do.
60%. Yeah, 60 or 65%. But I'm going to let you talk about his Puka pick real quick.
Yeah, Puka's one. I have not been able to get him on any dynasty roster that I have. That's not the reason that I picked him in the scenario. But I think the chips kind of fell in a certain way. already having the quarterback in the first round, it is super flex. So, I mean, it wouldn't be foolish to pick another quarterback here. But thinking ahead with how I know the rounds can go, one thing I like to do is I do like to build out each round, just a generic ADP of like, all right, in each round, what is the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end that would possibly be available at my pick? Just so I can think if I need to wait 2 rounds, can I still get a guy that I kind of like? It may not fall that way, but it's a good way to, I can confidently pick a guy like Puka here and be confident I can get a decent quarterback elsewhere. So Puka, I mean, it feels like he's been in the league for much longer than he has. He's had his ups, a little bit of downs, more so just injury rather than actually poor performance. But in LA, I'm a bit concerned, at least in the shorter term, with the touchdown potential that is going to be taken away from him to be shifted to Devontae Adams. And I understand Matthew Stafford's health and his back and that kind of stuff. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there. But I do believe in the team overall with McVay, his offense, and what he's built there, and how I think it will continue after Matthew Stafford. And I do think Puka is the building block for that offense as a whole. No offense to Kyron Williams, and I think he's a target monster. He can do a little bit of everything. And I think, especially from a PPR standpoint, I wouldn't say I got a steal at this point, but I think it's a decent, if not above average value at this point to get Puka.
Yeah. It's solid, man.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Puka's an absolute dog.
I think you kind of mentioned it. The only reason if I knew that his future quarterback situation was more solid, I'd definitely take Puka over Amon St. Brown. But you mentioned it a little bit. Stafford getting up there in age. I don't know what their backup plan for Stafford is just yet. So
it's not Garoppolo. I mean, if it's Garoppolo, Devontae Adams may cancel that check, man. he might be on his way back to, or he might be on his way to Pittsburgh to join up with your boy there, Aaron Rodgers.
All right. So typically here at Tight End Premium, I believe my pick would go probably McBride, but I'm going to do something a little fun here. I don't own any of this guy. And I'm a big fan of what I saw down the stretch with him and Penix, and I just believe that this Atlanta Falcons offense is going to explode. Give me Mr. Drake London.
Drake.
Yeah, Drake's got that prototypical, alpha size I like having in a receiver in dynasty leagues. He was a stud last year. I mean, there's no way around it. It was just sort of like a little bit of a slower start, if I'm remembering correctly, as Cousins was kind of figuring some shit out. But I mean, even in that game against the Eagles, it was London who was the go-to guy on that drive to win the game. And I mean, he just looked awesome with Penix towards the end. And I'm not sure if we'll get to Kyle Pitts in this mock at some point, but I mean, the passing game is definitely going through London in terms of 125 targets, potentially 1,500 yards, and maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns. I might even be like modest.
Yeah. I mean, they have a very sensibly built wide receiver room. I mean, London, you know what he's going to do. Darnell Mooney, I think, is a tremendous number 2. You will likely find a bigger fan than me. Maybe only his parents are bigger fans of Darnell Mooney than I am. But I think he serves his role well. You got Ray McLeod. I mean, he's a slot monster who more so is a good special teams contributor. But I think last year you got to see him step up and do big things there. But it's funny to think in an offense that, you have this ascending, second-year quarterback. We got to see a full year of him to see what we really have in Penix. But you have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, who is no slouch, being a 1,000-yard rusher before Bijan got there. And you can already trust that Drake London is going to be a tried-and-true top 10, top 12 dynasty receiver simply because of his volume. I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, it could very well be 140 targets, that kind of thing. He's just – it's all him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He's a lot of fun. I'm trying to get him everywhere I can, and I can't get him. Can't get him at all.
He's definitely been – I mean, I guess he was already kind of high, but I feel like he's risen up a ton of spots this offseason. I guess since he's kind of exploded with Penix in the last 3 or 4 games he's going to play with him, they connected a bunch. But look,
Yeah, I mean, not just that.
We talk about and Shu mentioned it too, but the situation that Penix is walking into, he's got a great room of guys, a little bit slept on. Mooney's phenomenal too. He's been slept on his whole career. And Ray McLeod, I mean, special teams guy, sure, but I mean, he kind of showed up towards the end of last year. I think with that, and then, I mean, say what you want about Kyle Pitts, but he's still a freak athletic guy. I don't think he's going to be what he's meant to be at any point in time in his career, but he's still a weapon for Penix to use at his disposal. And I think this offense is going to be electric, especially with Bijan in the backfield. I mean, it's going to be a great offense to watch as far as fantasy goes. And I honestly, especially in the late rounds, I'm targeting Mooney and even Ray McLeod super late in startups. He was my 22nd pick in the Scott Fish Bowl. I just think they're going to spread the ball. He did it at Washington, and Drake London's definitely the guy, but I mean, that offense is loaded.
Yeah, people forget how good Drake London was with Kirk Cousins as well. 3 games of Kirk where he scored, and he has 200-yard games with Kirk Cousins as well. And I mean, we all remember how bad Kirk Cousins was last year. It was pretty bad. And then just to see what he did with Penix, I mean, I don't know how he's not in anybody's top. You know, I have him at 8. Me personally, I have him at 8. I mean, low point, I think the low range is 10, 11, but
yeah.
Quick question for you guys while we have a little bit of a lull here. Since you're closer on the draft board, I'm a bit too far to make anything happen here. Would any 3 of you trade up from your spot here to grab a guy?
Well,
like, is there a scenario where, you know, you're trying to move up to get Amari and Hampton? You're trying to get up to I know you love Amari and Hampton, Chalmers. That's why I brought him up. But are you trying to move up to get Bucky here? You know, does Ladd make sense for your team? Are you making a move at this point, or are you still filling out the board and kind of seeing, you know, just seeing what falls?
I think at this point right here, so I bring up our DFF draft because I got super aggressive when it came to it. I traded up for Gene T in the 3rd. I traded up for Hampton in the 4th. And guys like this, I always tell people you have to buy into players before they become stars. So where the board's at right now, realistically, there's a couple of names that stand out to me. A couple QBs stand out to me here as values. A couple of wide receivers. And so the 2 tight ends that I would most typically own here are gone. So I think the tight end position's out the window. I would be super aggressive, and I'm trading up for one of my sleepers here being Garrett Wilson. I believe that Garrett Wilson and I believe that Justin Fields are going to have a monster season. People are down on Garrett Wilson. I'm not 100% sure why, but I believe that Garrett Wilson will finish as a top 10 wide receiver.
But I thought Justin Fields died. Remember last week when he blew out his Achilles and they carted him off and all that shit reporting that we were getting from camp? I kid, of course, but Garrett Wilson is not a name that I thought you were going to drop there, Chalmers. I thought for sure you might move up to grab Amari in here. Guys, other guys on the panel here, would you guys move up to grab anybody specific?
Look, I'm not the best person out in the situation. Famously, I do not move in startups. I think people get a little bit carried away as far as what they want for value for these first 2-3 rounds. I'm pretty locked after like the 5th round when these guys kind of start coming off of the value that they want for these picks. I'm all for it, but I think trade value gets a little sticky in these first few rounds. I tend to stay away from it and just let these guys fall to me. And there's still great value in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round that you don't really have to like move unless you're like really big on a guy. Like Chalmers is huge on Hampton. If you're sitting there and you think Hampton's a great value, if you fall to 3-4 and you're sitting at 3-8 like I am, and you want to do a round swap, then I'm not mad at it. But typically I'm staying put where I'm at, and I'm not moving in the first 5 rounds. After that, we get a little sticky, but
Yeah, same thing. I mean, if anything, I'm more inclined to move back if it makes sense.
Right.
Again, like if I'm having those notches of like, I'm working to fill out my roster, I think this quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end will be available here. Yeah, I think especially when you get to the 5th and the 6th. I had one startup I did I think 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and my team's a little bit old at some of the positions there, but I had my own first for next year, and I ended up adding another 2 firsts, trading back around like the 5th and the 6th. So I was like, all right, well, I can absorb a couple of older players that can produce now to know that I have 3 firsts in 2026 to kind of replenish if one just falls off the face of the earth somehow.
Yeah.
And Delhi, I don't know if you remember, but the trade that we did in the DFF League of Records startup, I think it was in February or March.
Yeah, gave up Tet.
Yeah.
With 26 first. Yeah.
Do you remember what round you were in and what round I jumped up from? I think it was
weird because it was kind of a unique situation as far as trade values. I think I had taken Tet in the 4th or 5th round, and it was a deal we did later on in like the 7th or 8th. We got it done.
Yeah.
But Chu kind of mentioned it. A lot of people down in 26 class, I think there's always a few guys that break out. If you can put yourself in a spot where you can be kind of towards the top of the 2026 class, I think there's always going to be studs in the first 3 picks, right? So if you can load up and, like she said, replenish on value, I think you can do that.
Well, I mean, in 26, you've got your quarterbacks, right? I mean, Arch isn't.
Yeah.
I think we all agree Arch isn't coming out, but you got your quarterbacks. Your Lenora Sellers, who I know that Jim Mormon, our editor-in-chief, is a monster on. I tried to pry him from his dead hands or his cold dead hands. He said in a Debbie league that we're in together, ended up doing a deal for DJ Lagway. But you got your quarterbacks.
Oh.
That's going to fall, a certain type of way, whether it's, Aller, Klubnik, Sellers,
Garrett Nussmeier, baby.
Nussmeier, Mendoza, Mateer. Yeah. I don't know. Those are all names that we're going to see go. And then you got your Nick Singletons, you got your Jeremiah Loves, Jordan Tysons. I know Evan Kerr's going to roast me for saying this, but your Carnell Tates, these guys, we're a little down on the 26 class. I think it's because we see what's coming in 27,
right?
And because of what we had this year, right? Because
in the previous too.
Yeah, and we've been a little spoiled. But if you need a quarterback, next year is a great draft to get it. And like you guys are saying, it's like somebody always surprises us, right? They come out of nowhere and crush. And I think there's certainly a scenario where we get blindsided once again. I mean, it's going to happen. Let's just say it that way.
I'm calling it now. Garrett Nussmeier, he will be going to the Saints. Of course, his dad is the OC for the Saints right now. So sometimes the stars align.
That pans out. What happened there? We went from Tet to Barkley.
He got auto picked.
Yeah, he was on auto. I think he might have bounced.
Okay.
Yeah, I let it. He'll be back and he'll just come off his auto. What was that? Huh? You got to put the tape on.
What kind of sucks? He's had 10 minutes.
Chalmers doing daddy duty over there.
Yeah.
Trying. You got to do both. I just want to say though, I don't know if you guys can see the number, Ryan. I don't know if you can see the number, but we got 260 people just hanging out watching a mock draft with us too.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. All the eyeballs. If we'll take this time to do some shameless self-promotion, make sure that you check out Dynasty Football Factory. It's like $5 a month, $20 a year. Check out our YouTube channel. We are painfully close to hitting a benchmark over there. I think we're 6 subscribers away from 500, something like that. We've always got the Always Be Building show, this show, archived there on the YouTube channel. We just started new video shorts project with one of our members here, Ross Macho Madden. He's fantasy buff in this draft, but some fun, sort of, irreverent content that's outside the sandbox a little. Love to get anybody's comments and sort of input on that. And, we just appreciate the support and love to talk about fantasy football. So this is better than most things I'd be doing on a Tuesday night. But I'm also 51, so I don't do anything on Tuesday nights. I don't know.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. We've been going for a month and a half, but it's good to see people still showing up. So means a lot.
Are we going through the third round, guys, or
Yeah, we're here for it. We started it. We're here for it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm very transparent about what goes on in my life with everybody. I did just have a new baby girl. She was just born. We had a little bit of a scare. Thank you. A little bit of a scare. She had to stay in the NICU for a little bit of time. So it it took a lot out of us as parents. Then we were getting adjusted to the newborn life. So this was more on me than Ryan, but life happens.
Partially on me though. I've been without Wi-Fi for 10 days, so that didn't help. We planned to go back last week, but Wi-Fi got cut a little early on a move-in date, so I had to lay some things too. So.
Did you have to hunt for your own
I'll say it again. I'll never take Wi-Fi for granted ever again.
Did you have to hunt for food too, Ryan? And sort of, use lanterns and shit? What's going on?
Yeah, you think. I felt like I was living back in 2007 again.
I'm imagining you doing your episode from a Starbucks or a Panera Bread, which would have been awesome also.
Bro, you guys got to go back and check out the pod that Ross did with Chalmers, where Ross was in a freaking hurricane.
Yeah, he was.
And, dude, no shit. He was in a hurricane in Kentucky. Dude, his power goes out in his spot, drives, 20 minutes outside of his pad so that he can get cell phone reception so that he could do this show with Chalmers. It was one of my favorite shows for a lot of reasons. Ross is a fun guy, but dude, as co-owner of Dynasty Football Factory and the chief content officer, I can't ask for a better group of guys that really, they raise the tide of this thing, and they care about not only the product that we're putting out, but this community that we've built over, since I've been here for 5 years. This company is 10 years old, and MG doesn't show his face much these days because he's behind the scenes, but he's the godfather, man. He brought this thing together. He founded it and gave us all a place to talk some fantasy football. So just appreciate it all inwards. And, it's good meeting you too, Chew. It's, one of these things, expand the network, get some love and have some fun. So yeah, man, that was my soapbox moment.
Oh man. Let's see.
Ted 302, man. Chew, what's your thoughts there?
I like Ted a lot. I think this is the best receiving core the Panthers have had in years. And again, I'm a massive Steve Smith fan. That's the first Panthers jersey I ever got. I had a Julius Peppers jersey, but I lost it at some point. Anyway, I really think this offense, you saw what Canales wanted to do last season, but the defense was historically bad. So he had to keep bailing on the running game mid-game, and you can tell he didn't want to do that. Of course, he's a first-year head coach trying to figure things out on the fly, but I do think Ted's going to be the number one wide receiver there. I think that's pretty obvious, but I think this rushing game is going to dominate the offensive snaps. I think they're going to be top 10 in run to pass percentage with Chuba and with Rico Dowdle. It's all through them. So Ted's going to really need some positive, probably double-digit touchdowns if he can get 9, 10, something like that to really push his fantasy value up there. But I don't know if it's going to happen quite yet. So I'm a little nervous in Dynasty, but for real football, I love it.
Yeah.
So you think 302 is too aggressive?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a problem taking him here, man. I know rookie fever can get you sometimes. And I don't know. We saw what Malik Neighbors did last year. We saw what Ladd did last year. We've seen rookies go and ball out. And we've also seen rookies take time. Marvin Harrison Jr., we were talking about him a little earlier. Our newest guy, Frank, brought to the attention that, Jeremiah Smith is being talked about as the next, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, or whatever. And we're talking about the expectations in the Discord. It's another thing that subscribers get, by the way, is access to our Discord, where everybody's just talking about football all the time. But with last year at this time, there were a lot of analysts in our space, and I know Chalmers, you had Malik ahead, and I know Chris had Malik ahead, and I think Frank had Malik ahead. We talked about this, but Marvin Harrison Jr. was being scooped up at that 201, 202 turn in startups, and there was a lot of expectation on him that fell flat in year one. Now, I think he's going to be fine for Dynasty, but we saw guys like Malik Neighbors become top 5 Dynasty wide receiver. We saw Ladd go from maybe the back end of the wide receiver 2 into wide receiver 10 and 12 or whatever it is. So given what they're doing there in Carolina and all the things that you mentioned, if they can establish that run game and open up some opportunities for Tet to go and grab those 50-50 balls and make them 70-30 balls and use him in the red zone and the kill zone there, there's certainly a pathway to real football success and fantasy success. And I agree with you. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 at some point. Might as well be now.
I'm a big fan of Tet, man. Big fan. When I watch Tet play, I think he's so much more than just a 50-50 ball merchant. Like, dude, I just see shades of AJ Green when I watch him play, man. And I'm telling you, I just believe this kid's going to be special. This is something that Bryce Young has desperately needed for 2 years now. And the offensive line additions last year that led to we've seen better scheming and protection for Bryce Young. But you had receivers who had a negative separation window. It was just so bad. And I'm just excited to see Tet in this offense. I'm just excited to see Bryce Young have a true weapon. And for everybody, he just proved to everybody he's better than CJ Stroud. I'm so excited.
He looked awesome, man. If you look at the splits with CJ Stroud last year, second half of the season, they're near even. Their stats are like near even. I'm riffing a little bit, but I mean, it was like, CJ went down a little. Bryce, this sounds terrible, but had it not been for that car accident that Andy Dalton was in, would we have had the opportunity to see, what Bryce could have been? Because that step back, that benching was all the difference. And then when he got the opportunity again, he seized it and never looked back. The one thing I wanted to throw out here, I saw it happen, and this is non sequitur, but Chalmers, how bad does it sting to see your boy Omarion go just one place?
Yeah, that's what I really wanted. I wasn't going to name drop the guy I really wanted. That's obviously not. I don't play poker that way. But I'm going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. here. I'm a big fan of the profile overall. I had Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr. from the jump. I believe that Neighbors, the ability to explode with the ball in his hands and make plays after the catch is uncanny. Marvin Harrison Jr., we know that he's not a big yak merchant. He only had 5 broken tackles in college. He had 1 technically last year that I don't even consider a broken tackle. But just overall, from a technical standpoint, he's a route technician. He has the athleticism to be great. And he's just super smooth in and out of breaks. He's just a good player. And I do believe that his 71% uncatchable target rate last year hurt him in a lot of scenarios. And I'm not betting against the talent. He's too good of a player to not be good.
He put on what? He put on 15 pounds of muscle this offseason?
Yeah, swole Maserati Mark.
Dude, he looked badass, man. I mean, I'm hoping that the midget can get him the ball. I love Kyler. I grabbed him in the startup that is currently running right now. I got him in the 4th round. I actually traded up for him. I was sitting, I think, in the 6th, and I traded up to the 4th to get him. It's now or never time, though. I mean, I saw some stuff on the DFF handle, kind of being critical of Kyler, and rightfully so, that his dynasty ceiling sometimes feels capped by his lack of accuracy, or some of the things that he doesn't bring to the football field. But he brings those little fast legs, man, and he's out there doing it. And if he can finally make Marvin the guy that we thought we were getting last year when we were taking him real high, Marvin's going to be set up for a great season and a great career. His numbers didn't suck last year; they just weren't. They weren't Malik and they weren't McConkey, So
or Bryant's. Yeah, it just sucks that
or PJ.
Just sucks.
Nice grab on Herbert.
Herbie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a love-hate relationship. Anybody who's been at DFF for longer than 3 years knows there was a famous battle in the Discord between me and a very smart analyst who doesn't work at DFF anymore. But we had some back and forth about, around Herbert. Took him a lot this year because I do like now what they're putting around him in terms of weapons. With this run game that's going to open up opportunities. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Chew, but I mean Herbert he feels like another like smash value where you got him.
Yeah, I mean it's just that. I mean, seeing how far some of the quarterbacks are falling in this, with it being super flex, I could have waited to my next pick and got another quarterback that I'm still reasonably comfortable with, probably. But just seeing Herbert at this point, I think him having Glad McConkey his second season getting even better. Trey Harris, very high on him. Of course, they lost Mike Williams after he got hurt and said, "Nah, I quit." But I think we all kind of expected that was either going to happen pre-season or like week 2 probably. So that's no different there. But, I mean, I'm a weirdly big fan of Tyler Conklin, the tight end that they got in the offseason. Maybe from a fantasy perspective, that won't be big for him individually. But I think as a whole for the offense, I think it's going to be helpful with him and Disley and some of those guys that are tremendous run blockers as well, that can help keep Herbert upright, can help promote Hampton, get down the field, and then hopefully get Herbert in better positions to use his legs and also get touchdowns to Harris and McConkey and those guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Trey Harris and Tyler Conklin. I think we'd be remiss not to really kind of spike Aronde Gadsden here and say for dynasty purposes, he brings a lot to the table, and from all the camp news, and I know it's camp news or whatever, he's showing out in camp and might find his way to targets a little bit sooner. KLC's all over the timeline as somebody who's kind of emerging sort of along this like parallel path with Dante Thornton for the Raiders. You're seeing these guys sort of kind of carve themselves out roles in these offenses, and I'm really excited to see what Herbert does now. Being here in Los Angeles with sports radio, man, it's like everybody's a fan of what Herbert does with his talent and his arm and what he can do with his legs. But when it comes to crunch time and winning, which was the whole argument that we had 3 years ago, when it comes to winning the games, coming through when expected, just hasn't been there. I saw a stat where he was like 3-13 over the last 3 seasons against teams above 600 winning percentage or something like that amongst elite quarterbacks. And that's a troublesome number, but that's obviously not all on him. There's sunnier days ahead for him.
Get my pick out of the way. So as far as he goes right next, but there's 2 receivers there that I think you can go back and forth between JSN and Garrett Wilson. I favor JSN more of a personal standpoint. But before I talk about JSN, I just want to say I keep missing on my quarterback tier breaks. I think Bo Nix and Justin Herbert falling that far was great. I know CJ Stroud's sitting there. He just had a down season. I do expect him to bounce back, but there's still guys that are younger or maybe slightly older later on in drafts. They're still great values. So I could sit and wait a little bit longer. I would have loved to have a Bo Nix or Justin Herbert there, no doubt. But I keep missing on guys. The previous round, it was Mahomes and May right before me. So keep missing on it, but I'm going to continue to knock out positional value. But I'm a big JSN guy. I always have been. I preached his rookie year. Just be patient. He will break out. Year 2, he finishes wide receiver 9. I kind of expect him to stay around that area, if I'm honest, between the 9 and 12 range year in, year out. 23 years old. I mean, dude's a young star in the up-and-coming game. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 for Seattle for a good bit here.
Are we wrapping up with 312 here, guys?
Yeah, we're gonna pause the draft as soon as you make your pick.
All right, cool. So I was hoping that Herbert would somehow fall to 312, and I would have made a quarterback selection there. He didn't. He shouldn't have. It just wasn't to be.
Hold on. He said he didn't pick Rice. I will.
Are you backing that up? Okay.
Yeah, he just said he didn't pick Rice. I will remove Rice and let him pick again.
Okay, cool.
And then you told him, no, you did. You picked him.
It's like, yes, you did, sir. You picked for
No, you did it.
So,
just tell me who you want, because it's not going to start the clock. I have to manually set the player now.
Who you want, Frank? Put it in the chat. So what I was kind of going with here depends on who Frank grabs here, but I would have normally tried to smash a quarterback and get that QB1 out of the way. Probably not going with any of the running back options at this turn, although I would be
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I'd be a little tempted to sort of maybe on TreVeyon Henderson here, with the idea that he would not make it, back to, around that 5 turn. But given I have 2 picks, I am going to use one of them on TreVeyon. And then I'm going to continue building that wide receiver room. And even though he's not one of my favorite guys actually, you know what? My bad, man. We're stopping at 312, right?
Yeah,
we're going to stop right here.
My bad. We'll hold it for next time.
Yeah, you're good. So what we're going to do now, we did the first 3 rounds. We're going to go through rounds 4, 5, and 6 on the next podcast on Tuesday. Let me just go ahead and lock up this draft. I just want to tell everybody who was in the draft and who made this possible, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is a big project that we've been working on. Let me just go ahead and pause this real quick. And this draft will be resumed very soon.
Just to tie up
I don't want to go too long, so the sooner the better, honestly.
Just really quick, I just wanted to expand on the Henderson pick, from my perspective, what the dude did at Ohio State was sensational. I think that he could be in that same production tier as Gibbs eventually. Reminds me a lot of that same profile. It seems like New England's going to be using him quite a bit in the passing game. Ramondre is older, less efficient. I think Henderson has the capability to be that 3-down back in New England. They can't draft wide receivers worth of shit, so they do very well with their running backs. And I think Hendo is the guy that's really close in terms of PPR and opportunity that he can possibly get into that Gibbs level of production. So that's why I reached them.
I like it.
Yeah. Everything's up per usual. Everybody that joined in. This is a little bit of a weird mock draft. I appreciate all you guys for working with us. I know we're stopping third, which is a little weird for mock draft. So anybody that's in here, especially guys tuning in, thank you so much. We'll get back to this as soon as possible so you can finish your mock out. But just want to say my normal spiel before we get out of here. I let Steven finish it off and let Shu and Russell and Mark say their goodbyes. But per usual, anybody that's came in the middle of this that didn't catch the first half, that dropped the first 1 or 2 rounds, videos always up the next day on YouTube on the Dynasty Football Factory Network. So check that out. Like MR referenced earlier in the video, we're 5 subscribers away from 500. It's a number that we've been trying hard to hit for the whole summer. I know we had some bumps in the road to get to this point with us being out for like a month and a half, but really excited to get that number. So anybody that's out there,
Yeah.
mind, it'll be out tomorrow.
So excited. So you guys understand that we took this thing from what it was to what it is now, and Ryan and I are very proud of our progress overall, and just the progress as a community here over at Always Be Building. And I mean it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of effort to make this what it is. And you know, we appreciate you guys more than anything. There's 350 people just sitting here watching us talk football tonight. I can't ask for anything more.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Can't ask for anything more. But on that note, we are going to wrap things up. Like Ryan and I always say, if you see the video tomorrow and you missed it, tell us what we did well. And then if you like the content overall, like, comment, most importantly, subscribe. 500 is the number we are searching for. Chu, MR, I'm going to let you say your goodbyes before we get out of here.
Yeah, I just want to throw one thing in. I'm going to pass it over to you, Chu. If you fancy yourself a content creator, you like talking fantasy football, you want to write for DFF, you want to come on board and be an editor, you want to create video content for Dynasty Football Factory, I think you got what it takes, man. Hit us up, hit the handle up, DFF Dynasty. We'll get you in touch with the rookie whisperer, Carl, who is our recruiter, and we'd love to have you aboard. You know, let's get it. Chu, to you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I mean, it's always good to chop it up with you guys. You guys have done incredible stuff for, I mean, a long damn time, and it's good that people are seeing it because they need to. And just glad to catch up with you. Check me out on Twitter at Father Dynasty. All my stuff's over there, so just click some buttons and find some stuff.
Absolutely, bro. We appreciate you guys. Ryan, as we always, it's been great. I will talk to you, you know, we'll talk football again tomorrow. On that note, guys, we're going to end the stream tonight. We are out.
Later, guys.